Welcome to Regent Park TV. Today we bring you coverage from Nathan Phillips Square, where community members, advocates, and organizations gathered to demand urgent investments in the services that make Toronto a livable city. As Toronto City Council approved Mayor Olivia Chow's 2025 budget, including a 6.9% property tax hike and a massive boost to police funding, many residents voiced their concerns that essential programs remained underfunded.
Social support mechanisms and community-based support models, not a larger police presence or larger police budget.
The Fund Our City Toronto Budget Rally, organized by Social Planning Toronto and its partners, was a direct response to the city's budget decisions.
This budget is an opportunity for the City of Toronto to step up and stand up for renters.
With the city facing a deepening affordability crisis, speakers at the rally urged elected officials to prioritize and expand essential community services rather than risk cuts that could further strain vulnerable residents.
When do we want it?
Toronto Council Fire Native Cultural Centre, based in Regent Park, stood in solidarity with other community groups, reinforcing the call for a city where everyone can thrive. The rally provided a platform for people to share their stories, highlight systemic inequities, and demand a budget that prioritizes communities over policing. For Regent Park and downtown East communities, rallies like this are not just about budget decisions. They are about shaping the future of neighborhoods that continue to struggle with housing instability, food insecurity, and underfunded social programs. Investments in community services are critical to ensuring that residents have access to affordable housing, reliable transit, and essential programs that foster well-being and safety. Events like this serve as a reminder that when communities come together, they have the power to demand change and hold leaders accountable. rptv reporter Fred Alvarado was on the ground, capturing the energy, speeches, and calls of action from the rally. Here's the full coverage of the event.
So it's so great to see everyone here who's interested in funding our city properly. So my name is Jin, and I work at Social Planning Toronto, which we are one of the co-sponsors of this rally. I'm also a very, very proud Torontonian. I'm proud to say I grew up in a working-class immigrant family in Scarborough, and I have lived in 7 of the 25 wards across this amazing city. And I'm here to call with all of you for a better city. So thank you so much for coming out today and supporting Toronto, bringing attention to what communities need, and asking the mayor and city council to do the right thing today. So we're here today for a peaceful gathering to let City Council know we need more investments to build a better, more affordable, livable, equitable, and sustainable city. Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Andrea Vasquez Jimenez. I am here with Policing Free Schools. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge the stolen Indigenous land that we are on today, that is known colonially as Toronto. The original name is Toronto. This is the land, ancestral territory, and traditional territory of diverse nations, including the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe, the Wendat peoples, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. This is now home to many diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples as well. With this stated, it's important and necessary to move beyond mere acknowledgements as if they are check marks. This is not just a checkbox to be marked off. It is both our individual and collective responsibilities to commit ourselves each and every day, including today, to truth and reconciliation, support Indigenous self-governance, support Indigenous self-determination, and hold the City of Toronto to account in regards to the Reconciliation Action Plan. We want to welcome Zachary John and Theo Nazary from Toronto Council Fire. They will be giving a Thanksgiving address in the Oneida language at first, and then in the colonial English language. Theo will then provide a brief background on the Spirit Garden, why it was created,
and the plans to honor this shared space continuing forward.
Sigoli Swagrig, Lanigulas na Lane Yangats, Okwalini Wagitalo, Onyata Ag, Niwagahundrod. So hello everyone, my name is Zachary John. My Onyata Ag name is Lanigulas Nale. I'm Bear Clan from the Onyata Ag Nation. So I've been asked here to open us up with the Ganahela Duksla, which is the Thanksgiving address. So first I'll say it in the language and then I will explain it afterwards. Sort hunsi oskanjokwa, agwegu uskaji, antwa winu ni ngwanigu, daye nu heladu nen, kanjokwa, kale yukinolha, kale aneganos, kale awahit, kale oyukwa uwe, kale jenhikwa, kale anunkwa, gundilio suha kale oskanunt, galute suha kale wata, ojidaha suha kale adanya, dauna doholiwagashi enek, lohawita sagorihunt, Ladi Segayondes, Lolihunte Torjikalakwa, Segolihunte Visot, Segolihunte Ojistokwa Suha, Segolihunte Gayani and Guedige, Lolihunte Scaniataleo, Agwegu Uskaji, Anpawino Ni and Guanigo, Suguan Disu, Danito Neoduhage and Guanigo, Dauna Udan Hadunt. So what I did there was I went through and thanked everything in creation for bringing us together today. I first spoke about us coming together in a good mind, which is really important for an event like this. Come together with one mind, with one purpose. And then I went through and I thanked all the helpers in creation. So Kanjokwa, the people, Yukinulha, Mother Earth, Oneganos, the waters, Awahit, the berries and the small plants. And then I said Oyukwa Uwe, the tobacco. Jinhekwa, so that is the three sisters or the sustenance that we survive on. Onunkwat, the medicines. And then I think the animals, Gandilio Suha, Kale Oskanut being the deer, which is the leader of the animals. Galute Suha Kalewata, so the trees and the leader of the trees, the maple. Ojistokwa Suha Kale Adanyat, so the birds and the eagle, which is the leader of the birds. And I talked about us going up in the sky world and thanking up there. So Ladi Sigayundes, the thunders, Loli Hunte Tojigalakwa, so brother sun, Sigoli Hunte Yuki Sot, so grandmother moon. Then I thanked Sigoli Hunte Gaini and Guedige, the four beings, and Ojistokwa Suha, so the stars. And finally I thanked Scaniata Leo, Handsome Lake, and then Suguan Diso, our creator. So the important thing about our Thanksgiving address is, as I mentioned, kind of bringing us together, and that ties into our creation story where Sky Woman, when she came down from Skyworld, she fell from Skyworld, she was caught by the Ojistokwa Suha, the birds, and while she was being brought down, the animals, they came together and they had a council about how they would support her and where she would land and put her, and they came together as a council, and that's the really critical thing. They discussed it, they heard everyone, they listened to everybody, and they decided that it would be that turtle island that we now live on. And then once the turtle's back wasn't large enough for her because she was pregnant and she needed more space, they discussed who would go down and grab that earth from the bottom of the ocean and bring it up to give her more land to be on. And they talked about that council, they talked with everybody, and they decided who was going to go together, and eventually it was that muskrat, the smallest, who went down and he grabbed that earth and brought it up, and even though he wasn't able to hold his breath and he lost his life getting it, he brought that dirt up for Sky Woman and turned Turtle Island into what we're standing on today. So I tell that story in the Ganahela Duksla today to just really focus on bringing our minds together, talking about that council. Those animals, they all spoke the same language and as one, which is what we really need in these times. Listening to everybody and bringing that all together. So, Yawongo, thank you very much for having me open up today. And I'm going to hand over the microphone to my colleague, Theo.
Hi everyone, my name is Theo Nazari. I want to acknowledge the sun for giving us the warmth right now. And it's great to see so many people here. Wow, it's a good turnout. So let's make some noise. So first of all, I want to acknowledge Zach for that opening. It's really important to center ourselves in terms of where we are. And I want to acknowledge Social Planning Toronto for organizing this important rally. When I heard about this, I was wondering why. Because the budget is positive, there are no cuts, but then when we're seeing what's going on all over the world, it's really important to have these rallies. And I'm talking about the tariffs, I'm talking about the economic intimidation, and everything that's happening. And as a city, can you guys hear me or no? Yeah? Okay. I thought we were going to use a megaphone, but this is so much better. So yeah, it's really important to continue to invest in our social services, in our public housing, in our public transportation, in our nonprofits, and the amazing work that you all do here. I know there's so many agencies, there's so many partners. Like just right now, I heard about I got this pamphlet here from the South Asian Women's and Immigrant Services. And so there's so many amazing groups here. And although the budget is positive and there are no cuts, and there's been massive increases to property tax, I think it's important that we continue to have these rallies. We continue to hold our political leaders accountable, and they continue to invest in the city. Because to be frank and honest with you all, this city is not affordable. And we see it every day at Council Fire, right? That we serve some of the most poor and some of the most underrepresented individuals across the city. And they utilize our food bank, they utilize our Meals on Wheels and all these other services. And you know, it's stark. It's not looking really good right now for everybody. So it's really important to continue holding these rallies, and we appreciate the invitation. I also want to speak about the Spirit Garden. How many of you are familiar with the Spirit Garden? A lot of people. That's really good. It's actually right behind the main stage there, and I've been involved with this project for over 7 years. You know, for as long as I've been at Council Fire, it's been something that I've been involved in. And the Spirit Garden is a truly special place. And one of the speakers earlier talked about colonialism and all of the, you know, the issues that have come from history in the past. I just want to be honest, because the partnership that our agency has with the City of Toronto is really positive. We've had nothing but immense support from the City of Toronto. And we want to acknowledge the former Mayor, John Tory. We want to acknowledge Mayor Olivia Chow. She was here at our opening, our traditional ceremony. And, you know, we felt that love. And so the Spirit Garden, I'll say a little bit about it. It honors residential school survivors. It celebrates Indigenous cultural resilience. It was created in part to respond to TRC Call to Action 82, but it is much more than that. It's Council Fire's vision to recreate a better world. And when you go and visit it after this rally, and be careful with the signs, when you visit it, it's a beautiful space for some reflection and you know, some time to think about everything that's happened, the history of this land. So again, I want to acknowledge Social Planning Toronto and all of you incredible people for being here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of Council Fire. Our executive director, board designate, is not able to make it, so therefore I'm here, and she sends her regrets. And we appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from all of you.
Thank you so much, Zach and Theo, for that beautiful opening and for grounding us here before we move forward. I really appreciate it. So, we are here today to urge City Council to do the right thing for Toronto and for all of us who live on this land. To prioritize building a better, more affordable, more livable, equitable, and sustainable city for everyone. To stop ignoring the needs of those sleeping outside. Stop ignoring those who have to choose between feeding their families and paying rent. Those who spend hours on transit getting to their jobs or to appointments or to get to an accessible subway stop. Those who are feeling left behind by all levels of government in the midst of an opioid poisoning epidemic. And those who are young, Black, Indigenous, racialized, immigrants, disabled, and or on low income, experiencing discrimination and having a tough time finding decent work. We are here today for all of us in our communities who have been hit the hardest by an unfair economic system, bad government decisions, bad funding decisions, and will be hardest hit if there is a trade war. We are here to urge City Council to do everything they can to invest in communities today.
This proposed budget brings in much needed funding, but we need to ensure more, to ensure that no one is left behind. This city continues to balloon the police budget. Shame! Funds that should be going into our communities. This is not the time to cut anything except the police budget, that is. We need sustainable revenue tools. We need investments in deeply affordable and accessible housing. Transit, including Wheel-Trans. Shelter support and expedited housing for the houseless and precariously housed. Additional supports for drop-ins. A properly funded Toronto Community Crisis Service and additional diversified police-free emergency responses. We need support for libraries and expanded recreation, community and youth programs, funding for childcare and school food programs, youth employment programs, evidence-based violence prevention and intervention programs, including for gun violence, such as Advanced Peace. We need increased services for seniors and people in long-term care. Addressing the climate crisis, including funding climate mitigation and adaptation, along with additional robust social support mechanisms and community-based support models, not a larger police presence or larger police budget. Torontonians have already asked for divestment from the police budget and more investment into communities. Funds need to be reallocated and responsibilities shifted away from police. What we need is political will. Let us push for bold moves, not just for incremental changes. Demanding more supports and resources, not more police. When I say care, you say not cops. Care, not cops. Care. When I say youth employment, you say not handcuffs. Youth employment. Youth employment. When I say fund, you say housing. Fund. Housing. Fund. Housing. When I say fund, you say shelter. Fund. Shelter. Fund. Shelter. When I say fund, you say transit. Fund. Transit. Fund. Transit. When I say address, you say root causes. Address. Address. A person who would be pointing us time and again to address root causes was Louis March, a founder of the Zero Gun Violence Movement, a fierce community elder, a fierce community leader, and now ancestor. He was active as well in the Social Planning Toronto-led Budget Coalition and Budget Rally planning for the past couple of years. If he was still with us, he too would be asking us to question police budget increases. and that policing is not the solution. And point as to why aren't the root causes of gun violence being truly addressed, which too are those root causes that address social determinants of health and equity of so many social issues. We keep his legacy alive by continuing the work, knowing that this is an intergenerational struggle, and that this too also continues past budget day.
Thanks, Andrea. So we have 6 amazing speakers lined up for you today to talk about the budget. But before we hear from them, I want to first give a shout out to all the rally co-sponsors who helped support this rally, this Fund Our City rally. So I'm going to call out your names, and if you're present, let us know. So Acorn Canada. Yay! Campaign 2000. Woo! QP Local 79. Don Valley Community Legal Services. Yes, small but mighty. Family Service Toronto. GTA Disability Coalition. Yay! The Neighborhood Group Community Services. North York Harvest Food Bank. Whole busload. Policing Free Schools. Woo! Progress Toronto. Scarborough Civic Action Network. Social Planning Toronto. South Asian Women's Rights Organization. Yes. Toronto Community Benefits Network. Woo. Toronto Drop-In Network. Woo. Toronto Environmental Alliance. Toronto Public Library Workers Union, Local 4948. TTC Riders. Toronto and York Region Labour Council. Toronto Youth Cabinet. And YWCA Toronto. I really hope I didn't miss anyone. Woo! All right, thanks all. So our first speaker is transit user Nicholas Christou. Nicholas will share his experiences with transit in the city. Nicholas. He's coming.
Nicholas!
They're coming. Speak right into the mic.
Hello.
Hi, Nicholas!
Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? So, my name is Nicholas Christou. I'm a volunteer with the TTC Riders Advocacy Group, and I'm here today to speak on the importance of funding public transit. Like many of you, I'm a daily user of the TTC and rely on it for getting to every aspect of my life. Who took the TTC to get here today? How was your commute? How satisfied are you with the TTC right now? Like you, we are all frustrated and tired of how unreliable the TTC has been lately. The experience of taking the TTC has worsened over the last 2 years as a result of decades of underinvestment and neglect. This cannot continue, as public transit is the backbone of this city, the beating heart that supplies our city with blood. I don't know how hearts work. And without it, the city would not function. We applaud the mayor's proposal to increase and make service more reliable, address the repair backlog, and freeze fares in the city budget. We welcome these improvements and value the effort made to support the critical public services that we all rely on. A fare freeze is fantastic to support. It's fantastic news for keeping our transit affordable. However, there are still councillors that support increasing fares. Last year, Councillor Brad Bradford and John Burnside, they stated their support for increasing TTC fares. Increasing fares will negatively impact ridership and trust in the system, as well as hurting people who rely on the TTC the most amid the affordability crisis. So while all these promising commitments in the budget are a great first step, we need a new and sustainable funding model for the TTC going forward, and one that relies less on fares. We can't afford to pay for more fares. We need the provincial and federal governments to step up and fund the TTC as well. Toronto generates an immense amount of wealth for the provincial and federal governments, and in return, we are given very little support, especially compared to other cities' transit systems. More funding would help to improve and fix the slow zones on major sections of the subway. If we want to see zero slow zones on the subway, the only way we will ever reach this point is if there is more support from other levels of government. Fares have gone up faster than the rate of inflation over the years, but despite all the increases, our time and experience on the TTC continues to get worse. It is unacceptable. In addition to today, come to our rally on Wednesday, February 19th at 5 p.m. to urge the provincial government to open the Eglinton Crosstown and fully fund the TTC's repair backlog and transit operations. They are not paying their fair share, not you! Today, we urge City Council to support and fund essential public services like public transit. We are urging City Councillors to protect the fare freeze. Thank you for your time and attention. TTC Riders thanks you for your support.
Thank you, Nicholas, for sharing your experience with us and as it relates to transit and fighting for more transit and properly funded services. It's something that benefits our whole city. Give it up for Nicholas for his transit experience and thoughts on the budget. Our next speaker is Alicia Alam from South Asian Women's Rights Organization, sharing their thoughts on today's affordability crisis, nonprofit grassroots experience of supporting vulnerable people, and how we can create a better budget.
When I say whose city, I need to hear our city. Whose city? Whose city? Whose city? My name is Alicia and I'm here from the South Asian Women's Rights Organization. And we are here today representing the hundreds of thousands of lower-income and precariously employed immigrant and newcomer women living in the Oak Ridge, Taylor, Massey, and surrounding East Danforth neighborhoods. I've had the pleasure of calling these Scarborough neighborhoods my home since I came to Canada with my family in 2006. I'm also aware that my home, like many others, have long been designated as neighborhood improvement areas for the past 20 years due to the poor economic, social, and health outcomes. Neighborhoods like ours, which have been celebrated for its ambience, diversity, and vibrance, have always been in crisis. Shame! Shame! For many years now, we have been sounding the alarms about the impacts of austerity measures on communities like ours, where residents have the least economic and social protections and resources. Alongside the crisis in housing, transportation, schools, food insecurity, and general unaffordability that my colleagues have and many will address today, we have been sounding the alarms on the widespread reality of precarious employment, especially affecting many city jobs. Lack of access to childcare due to limited spaces and cuts to subsidies, and cuts to a number of violence prevention, social, health, recreation, programs for low-income families, women, youth, gender-diverse individuals, and individuals with precarious status or without status. Shame! Shame! These realities have long been normalized in our city and worsened since the COVID-19 pandemic and is infecting other communities and sectors, leaving more of us to scramble for a shrinking pool of resources and supports while we blame our city's most vulnerable who were excluded to begin with. Shame! Underlying these crises is a growing frustration about Toronto's democratic process. Each of our 25 city wards are more underserviced than before, and more of us are alienated from the decision-making process of our city governance. All of this while families shoulder the economic and social burdens created by employers, created by businesses and private entities who continue to pay far less than their fair share in public services which we rely on. Shame! Toronto is uniquely positioned to model creative and stronger public policies and programs. We echo the calls for a budget that's responsive to the public needs. The city must implement a public standard of employment across all city services and all contracted city services that guarantees a living wage and dignified work conditions. The city must increase access to childcare by revisiting Toronto's childcare strategy to support the aforementioned public standard of employment for childcare workers, safeguard subsidies, and expand childcare spaces to meet at least 80% of the child population in Toronto. The city must recognize housing as a human right by expanding shelter services, subsidizing housing,
housing and protecting renters from predatory housing practices. The city must invest in adequately support partnerships with community organizations to expand public health, violence prevention programs, and services for survivors of gender-based violence that is available to all Torontonians, regardless of where they live and their immigration status. And lastly, we need the city to hold employers and the private sector accountable by implementing equitable tax contribution policies that recognize the responsibilities of businesses, landlords, and commercial entities to our city and public services. While we stand here today urging our councillors for a comprehensive budget that works in the public's interest, we know that the city cannot work alone. We must continue to advocate for all levels of government to fulfill its obligation from a public response to the compounding and worsening crisis faced by our communities, because we will no longer accept anyone being left behind. Our security is in the because the security of one is the security of all.
Amazing, thank you, Alicia. Our next speakers are Marcia Stone and Stacey Semple from Toronto Acorn. Looking out for renters all across the city.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Good looking group. I'm glad you all showed up, and we're going to have to continue to show up. So next one, bring a friend. Next one, get them to bring a friend. We have to stand up with our voices. And the more voices we have, we will win. So my name is Marcia Stone, and I am the chair of the Western Acorn chapter. I'm here to say that the rent is too damn high. All across this city, we're seeing above guideline rent increases caused by this province's government's weak rent control laws. This budget is an opportunity for the City of Toronto to step up and stand up for renters. We need all residential developments in this city that are built using city money to be rent controlled. We need to raise the vacant home tax to 5% and end the loophole that exempts vacant units in big apartment buildings. We need more money for the Mura program to allow nonprofits and community land trusts to buy up properties and keep them affordable. And it can be done. Above all, we need to take profit out of housing. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of vacant properties and apartment units across the city, while we have people sleeping in the street. And those politicians are sleeping in their beds. We demand the City Council vote today to support renters, to support new immigrants, and to support low and working class Torontonians everywhere across Ontario. The people, united, will never be defeated. The people, united, will never be defeated. The people, united, will never be defeated.
Hi everyone, thank you so much, Marcia, for that. My name is Stacey, and I've been a downtown Toronto Acorn member for just over a year now. I'm here today because the city must invest more in rent-safe TO. Yes, you've hired more bylaw officers, but how does a building get an 80% pass from them only for its roof to flood soon after and displace tenants for many weeks on end? Why is rent-safe TO telling tenants they must capture live videos of live cockroaches, even though pictures of dead ones were provided, before they'll open a file and investigate? Communication education and more enforcement is needed so landlords don't get a pass on unsafe living conditions.
Yes.
Because the only one that ultimately pays is the tenant.
Yes.
Provide more money to rent safety-o rather than the police budget so they can have a better and higher standards than currently held, and landlords are finally accountable for proper maintenance. Community services are a much-needed investment so we can prevent lawlessness. Please clean up this city.
All right, thank you so much, Marcia and Stacy. Our next speaker is Kanma from North York Harvest Food Bank, who is a model, activist, community member who accesses the food bank at Albion Library Community Food Space and North York Harvest.
Hi, my name is Kanma, and these days sometimes I have to use the Not Your Harvest Food Bank because things have become so expensive. Yes. And I know I'm not alone, okay? Here, today, more than 1 in 10 people are using the Not Your Harvest Food Bank or the food bank in general.
Yes.
Yes, can you imagine that? And this is the wealthiest city, one of the wealthiest cities in North America. Yes, and yet 1 in 10 of us need to use the food bank. It doesn't have to be this way.
No, it doesn't.
For years, Not Your Harvest Food Bank has been recommending policy changes to our government, but few of our elected officials took notice. But now we are mobilizing for real change and taking our struggles to the doorstep of our decision makers to put them on notice. Today, I'm joined by 50 of my neighbors here from the Not Your Harvest Food Bank. We came here from North Etobicoke, Eglinton Lawrence, York Center to urge every city councillor to pass a city budget that puts people first. 2 months ago, our city council declared a food insecurity emergency in Toronto. It's easy to talk the talk, but now we need our city councillors to walk the walk and put the money where their mouth is. We are here to call on every city councillor to support the following. 1, increase funding in job-in-meal programs. How is it possible that during a food emergency, our drop-in-meal programs are receiving less support in our city than they did last year? 2, support increased funding for tenants. Very important. You see, the number 1 reason today why people use food bank is the high cost of rent. And that's why we are calling on city councillors to support increased funding to the Toronto Food Bank, to Toronto Food Rent Bank, right? Rent Safety O, and tenant support program. 3, support the TTC fare freeze. After paying our rent and utilities, on average, people coming to the food banks only have $7.78 per day to pay for food and all other expenses.
Disgraceful is what it is.
Just traveling to and from the grocery store to consume someone's food budget, just traveling to and fro to the grocery store, we just consume someone's food budget. And that's why we are calling on city councillors to implement a TTC freeze fare. 4, support the school food program. Nearly 1 in 3 food bank users in our network are children, and 1 in 4 children in Toronto are living below the poverty line. And that's why we are calling our city councillors to support funding the expansion of the school food program to all schools in Toronto. Let's fund a better city.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Emma. All right, our next speaker is Briar Perry from NEGME Indigenous Youth Agency. Briar, I know you're here somewhere. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Ani Bojo. I just want to say good afternoon and
thank you all for allowing me to share a little bit about who I am and what I do in Toronto. Sorry. It's really cold out. I had to keep my mitts on. Okay. So, my name is Briar Rose Perrier. I'm the Toronto Director for the Inéitní Indigenous Youth Agency, also known as Eshkanijik, Nandwich, Gagamik, Abish Gabin, Jabayan, a place for healing our youth and where do we come from. At Inéitní, we support First Nations, Métis, and Inuit youth aged 12 to 29 through culturally significant programming. This programming helps Indigenous youth develop life skills, access employment opportunities, and gain leadership skills to be their own voice. We take great pride in being a one-of-a-kind agency that is run by youth for youth. Today I'm here to talk about something that is critical for all of Toronto's young people, the importance of ensuring opportunities of meaningful employment. And it's not just about giving young people a job, it's about empowering them and providing a space within our city where they can thrive and contribute to the community in an impactful way. Toronto is known to many as the city full of opportunity, yet not every young person has equal access to those opportunities. Canada's youth unemployment rate hit its highest level since 2016 this past spring, and Toronto's rate came in even higher at 16.8%. This statistic highlights the urgent need for action to ensure all youth, especially those from marginalized communities, have the chance to thrive in the workforce. Youth employment is more than just a paycheck. It's about allowing youth to see one another in leadership positions within the city that create pathways to long-term stability. No matter how big or small their job may be, we give youth the chance to change the narrative, which in turn changes lives and creates a positive impact on our city as a whole. That being said, I'm calling on the City of Toronto and its councillors to go a step further in ensuring that youth and Indigenous youth are not left behind in these opportunities. We need to create spaces where they can not only access employment, but also feel supported and valued within the workplace. The impact of simply giving youth a chance cannot be underestimated. It can change their trajectory, provide hope for a brighter future, and help them develop into leaders who can give back to our community. I will end on this. Our youth are our future, and if we don't include them, we as a whole will cease to exist. We must invest in them, support them, and provide the opportunities they deserve. Chimigwech, thank you. Thank you, Briar, and thank you for letting us know how to create the social conditions for thriving and healthy spaces for young people. Our next speaker is Brian Connolly from ATU 113. Brian, everyone.
Hi, everyone. We're in the middle of a provincial election campaign right now. In 1998, the Harris provincial government eliminated dedicated operational funding for the TTC. Successive Liberal and Conservative governments have failed to restore that operational funding, and the TTC has now fallen into a state of disrepair. We had 13 years of Conservative service-cutting mayors that raised the fares of the TTC while cutting service, and the state of good repair fell into a state of disrepair. We had a mayor that was recently elected to promise to bring change. She has done that with last year's budget and is proposing to do that again with this year's budget. The mayor is proposing to create good jobs, general body repair apprenticeships for young kids coming out of high school. She's planning on increasing service and investing in our state of good repair, or should I say disrepair, that will actually increase the service without increasing fares. We need people to support this budget And you can't get to the top of the mountain in a single leap. Every year, we need to be advocating to do better. Good jobs, good state of repair will keep transit moving. So everybody, support this budget. Tell the councilors to support this budget. And with this provincial campaign, ask them where the dedicated operational funding for the TTC is.
That's right.
We need to get people off the streets, good jobs that can afford to pay rent, and be proud to live in the city of Toronto. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Brian, and thanks for bringing a note of positivity as well. So, thank you, Brian, and thank you all of our speakers and all our organizers today, and most of all, thank you. How about a round of applause for all of you that showed up today. Thank you so much. So just a final reminder that we have some folks walking around where you can sign a petition calling on City Council and the Mayor to fund our city, and we will present that petition to the Mayor, and I'm going to call on Andrea to close us out.
Thank you, friends and neighbors. Please join us inside if you're interested and available. Many of us will be heading into council chambers or the overflow room upstairs. And we would love it if you could join us. Thank you for sharing your afternoon with us. Take good care. And what do we want? A city for all. 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 When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now. Woo!
The people united
will never be defeated.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and visit us on all our social media platforms. Please visit our website for more information.